Welcome to this explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to guide you through today's topic, which is all about a 7-day reset to restore your tingles. If you've ever relied on ASMR to unwind, maybe focus, or just drift off to sleep, you already know firsthand how incredibly powerful those gentle, comforting tingles can be. But let's validate a very real, very frustrating experience for a second. The day those tingles just stop. You cue up your favorite creator, expecting that usual wave of relaxation, and suddenly, it feels completely flat. Well, today we're going to break down exactly why that happens and, more importantly, how you can get your sensitivity back.
Have your tingles completely disappeared? Look, I really want to empathize with you right now and confirm that you are definitely not imagining things. It's incredibly common for regular listeners to find a trigger that absolutely melts their nervous system, they listen to it night after night, and then, seemingly out of nowhere, it does almost nothing. The sounds are exactly the same, but your physical response is just gone. You aren't broken, and honestly, the content you're listening to isn't broken either.
Section 1. The ASMR Immunity Problem. Why your favorite triggers feel flat.
Section 2. The Science of Habituation. It's not immunity, it's energy conservation. Okay, let's dive into this.
When we talk about losing our tingles, you'll hear the online community often use the term ASMR immunity. You find a creator who gives you incredible scalp tingles. You listen for a few weeks, and then bam, immunity seemingly strikes. But scientifically speaking, your brain isn't building some permanent antibody to whispering or tapping. Habituation is simply the brain's way of saving energy by reducing its attention and response to predictable, repeated stimuli. Think about it like the hum of an air conditioner in the background, or even just the feeling of the clothes resting on your skin right now. Your brain notices them at first, for sure, but once it realizes nothing important or dangerous is changing, it actively tunes them out to save energy. It's like a giant filter. When an ASMR stimulus repeats and nothing changes, your brain simply stops paying attention to it.
And here is the absolutely crucial takeaway. ASMR requires an active attention system that feels completely safe. You see, ASMR isn't just passive noise that you can sleep through without your brain doing any work at all. A trigger has to be gentle enough that you feel absolutely no threat, but interesting enough that your brain actively keeps tracking it. When the same tapping rhythm, the same camera angle, or the exact same role-play pattern repeats too often, your brain stops treating it as special. Your attention system has learned the pattern, so it just clocks out for the day.
A 2015 study by Barratt and Davis perfectly captures this trap. They noted that while many people use ASMR for relaxation, sleep, and mood support, repetition is exactly where habituation can appear. And honestly makes total logical sense, right? If ASMR helps you sleep, you're going to use it every single night. But this research highlights that our incredibly logical habit of repeatedly using ASMR for sleep is the exact thing that trains our brain to tune it out.
To build on that, research by Poerio and colleagues in 2018 revealed that measurable physiological changes, like a reduced heart rate, depend entirely on the viewer actually entering the ASMR state. This is vital to understand. ASMR isn't a magic pill. If your brain has habituated and tuned out the trigger, your body's physical relaxation response, like that beautiful drop in your heart rate, simply won't happen. The sensitivity matters so much. If your brain tunes out, your body's relaxation response just doesn't activate.
Section 3. Why escalating triggers backfires. The trap of louder, faster, stronger. So when our tingles start to fade, it's a completely normal human instinct to hunt for wilder, more intense triggers. We think to ourselves, well, if the soft tapping doesn't work, maybe fast, aggressive tapping will do the trick. We fall into what we call the escalation trap, seeking those louder, faster triggers. Now, it might work for a day or two, but it actually trains your nervous system to need novelty at higher and higher intensities. On the flip side, the correct science-backed approach is sensory contrast. This means taking breaks, changing trigger families, and actually lowering the volume. Instead of shouting at your nervous system to pay attention, you're giving it the contrast it needs to notice the subtle things again.
Section 4. Rules for sensory contrast. Retraining your attention. Changing your listening habits is literally the absolute key to resetting your nervous system. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how we can retrain your attention across 3 main trigger categories. First, we've got voice triggers, like whispering or personal attention. Then we have texture triggers, think tapping, brushing, or fabric sounds. Finally, visual attention, which covers slow hand movements or light triggers. To retrain your attention, you need to rotate these categories. But here is the real trick. Do not rotate them every 30 seconds within a single session. Rotate them by day. If you listen to a voice trigger on Monday, switch it up to a purely visual trigger on Tuesday.
10. I want you to lock this number into your mind right now. Long sessions are not automatically better. If you play ASMR for hours every single night, the brain just treats it as background wallpaper. So try limiting your intentional ASMR sessions to just 10 minutes where you do absolutely nothing else. No scrolling on your phone, no reading the comments, no comparing creators. Just 10 minutes of dedicated, completely safe attention.
Okay, our next rule. Lower the volume. I know this sounds completely backward when you're desperate to feel something, but ASMR is a near-threshold experience. Softer listening invites attention instead of demanding it. If the sound gets too loud or too constant, your nervous system stops classifying it as a gentle trigger and just lumps it in as noise. So turn it down and make your brain really lean in to actively listen.
And the final rule for sensory contrast: change the purpose. Remove the pressure to sleep. If every single ASMR session has the heavy pressure job of forcing you to fall asleep, anxiety naturally enters the room. Try using ASMR for lower stakes moments instead. Use it for a 10-minute break after work, a calm transition right before you read a book, or just a quiet reset in the afternoon. Basically, take the pressure off of the tingles.
Section 5. The 7-Day Tingle Reset. A step-by-step nervous system reset. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how we put all of this into action. We're going to take everything we've learned about habituation, energy conservation, and sensory contrast and map it out over one single week to get your sensitivity back. Let's look at how this protocol builds day by day. Days 1 and 2, no ASMR at all. None. Use silence, stretching, or breathing. Day 3, introduce nonverbal ambience at a low volume, something like rain or brown noise. Day 4, try a visual trigger with minimal sound. Day 5, a gentle voice trigger, but remember that 10-minute maximum we talked about. Day 6, try a texture trigger you haven't used recently. And finally, Day 7, return to your old favorite trigger. The goal here is absolutely not self-deprivation. The goal is simply restoring contrast so your brain actually has the room to notice your triggers again.
Your nervous system isn't broken. It's just bored. Give it novelty, quiet, and time. If your tingles have faded, you haven't lost the ability to feel ASMR forever. I promise. You're just overstimulated or trained to expect the exact same pattern. Sometimes the absolute fastest way back to those comforting tingles is to simply stop chasing them for a little while.
Which leaves us with this final provocative thought. What will your first trigger be on day 7 of your reset? Think about that highly anticipated reward. I challenge you to start this 7-day reset today. Embrace the quiet, rotate your triggers, and let your nervous system rest. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I wish you the absolute best of luck getting your